To the Galactic Empire, humanity was an afterthought. A minor species tucked away on the edge of the galaxy, barely worth the time it would take to subjugate them. The Empire had seen countless civilizations rise and fall, each one crumbling under the weight of their advanced fleets and superior technology. They viewed themselves as the ultimate power, unmatched and unchallenged, and in this arrogance, they dismissed humanity as nothing more than a nuisance, a species with primitive technology that posed no real threat. When reports reached the Empire's high command of a human ship, a small, outdated vessel drifting near one of their strategic sectors, their response was almost contemptuous. The ship, decommissioned years ago and repurposed for research, was nothing more than a relic in the eyes of the Empire. It was a ship that had seen better days, its once proud hull now marred by years of service. To the Empire, this ship was the epitome of human weakness, a symbol of their inferiority. The decision was made quickly. An elite fleet, one of the Empire's finest, was dispatched with orders to obliterate the human ship. It was meant to be a demonstration of power, a clear message to humanity that any resistance would be crushed without mercy. The Empire's commanders barely spared a thought for the mission. After all, what threat could a single, dilapidated human vessel possibly pose to the might of the Empire? But the human ship was not what it seemed. Beneath its worn exterior, it housed a secret that only a select few on Earth knew about. This pathetic vessel had been chosen for a reason. It carried a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, a powerful energy device capable of manipulating gravitational fields. Developed in the deepest, most secretive laboratories on Earth, this weapon was humanity's greatest achievement, a technological breakthrough that could turn the tide in their favor. The crew of the ship, though small in number, were the best of the best. They were not soldiers, but scientists, engineers, and experts in theoretical physics. Each member had been carefully selected for their knowledge and expertise, aware that their mission was of the utmost importance. They knew that their ship was the key to humanity's survival, a last-ditch effort to level the playing field against a foe that seemed invincible. As the Imperial fleet drew closer, the crew remained calm, methodically preparing the ship for what was to come. They had been briefed on the Empire's tactics, on the arrogance that would likely lead them to underestimate the human vessel. The crew knew that they had one chance, one opportunity to prove that humanity was not the weak, insignificant species the Empire believed them to be. The orders from Earth were clear: engage the Imperial fleet and test the weapon. It was a risky strategy, but one that could pay off in unimaginable ways. The crew was ready, the ship primed for battle, but the Empire had no idea of the storm they were about to walk into. As the Imperial fleet approached, their commanders remained confident, dismissive even. They saw the human ship as nothing more than a target, a means to display their dominance. They were unaware that within moments, they would be facing a force they could not comprehend, a weapon that defied the very laws of physics they so arrogantly believed they had mastered. The stage was set. On one side, a mighty fleet of the galaxy's most feared conquerors, armed with the most advanced technology ever conceived. On the other, a single, unassuming human ship, carrying a secret that could change the fate of the galaxy. The Empire was about to learn a lesson they would never forget, that even the smallest spark can ignite a fire capable of consuming the stars. And so, the crew waited, their hands steady on the controls, their minds focused on the task ahead. They knew what they were up against, but they also knew the power they wielded. As the Imperial ships closed in, the human vessel appeared to be outmatched, outgunned, and on the verge of being obliterated. But appearances, as the Empire would soon discover, can be deceiving. The Imperial fleet moved with the precision and confidence of a well-oiled machine. Each ship, a marvel of engineering, was a testament to the Empire's dominance. As they approached the lone human vessel, the commanders barely concealed their disdain. This was to be nothing more than a routine exercise, a brief interruption in their journey across the stars. The human ship was, in their eyes, a relic of a bygone era, and they relished the opportunity to crush it as a demonstration of their superiority. The Empire's ships advanced in perfect formation, their sleek hulls reflecting the distant starlight. The commanders, seated in their command chairs, exchanged smug glances. They had faced down armadas, reduced entire civilizations to rubble, and here they were, tasked with eliminating a single, decrepit ship. It was almost beneath them, but orders were orders. They would make quick work of this and move on, perhaps even enjoying the spectacle of the human ship's destruction. Inside the human ship, the mood was starkly different. The crew, though few in number, moved with a sense of purpose and urgency. They were fully aware of the odds stacked against them. The Imperial fleet was massive, its ships bristling with advanced weaponry and shield systems far beyond anything the human ship could match conventionally. But the crew also knew that they had something the Empire could not anticipate, a weapon that defied conventional understanding. The captain, a seasoned veteran with a deep understanding of both physics and the art of war, gave the final orders calmly. The crew, each member handpicked for their expertise, went through their checks with the precision of surgeons. The energy weapon, their secret and only hope, was primed and ready. It was a device that manipulated gravitational fields, capable of creating distortions in space itself. If deployed correctly, it could turn the tide of the battle in an instant. As the Imperial fleet drew closer, the tension inside the human ship mounted. Every member of the crew knew that the success of the mission hinged on the precise timing and execution of their plan. They were vastly outnumbered and outgunned, and a single misstep could mean their end. The weapon had never been tested in a real battle scenario, and its effectiveness, while theoretically sound, remained unproven. But there was no turning back. The trap had been set, and now all they could do was wait. The crew monitored the incoming Imperial ships, their sensors lighting up with the signatures of the approaching fleet. The Empire, oblivious to the trap, continued its advance, their overconfidence blinding them to the reality of the situation. The human ship remained still, appearing to be nothing more than a helpless target waiting to be destroyed. This was exactly what the crew had hoped for, lulling the Empire into a false sense of security. Then, the moment of engagement arrived. The Imperial fleet opened fire, their weapons systems locking onto the human ship with pinpoint accuracy. Bolts of energy and plasma streaked through space, aimed at disabling the ship's systems before it could mount any form of defense. The human ship, smaller and seemingly fragile, shuddered under the barrage, its shields flickering as they absorbed the impact. To the Empire, it looked like an easy victory, the first stage of their mission proceeding exactly as planned. Inside the human ship, the crew held their breath. The plan was working, but the margin for error was razor thin. The initial assault was brutal, designed to cripple them before they could react. The ship's hull groaned under the pressure, and systems blinked in and out of operation. But this was all part of the ruse. The human vessel appeared to be struggling, barely holding together, just as the Empire expected. As the Imperial ships closed in for what they believed would be the final blow, the crew of the human ship prepared to activate their secret weapon. The tension was almost unbearable, each second ticking by with agonizing slowness. The Imperial commanders watched with smug satisfaction, already considering the job done, their thoughts turning to the accolades they would receive for this victory. But they were wrong. The human ship was far from defeated. The crew had been waiting for this moment, for the Imperial fleet to come within range, to lower their guard in the belief that the battle was all but over. The time had come to spring the trap, to unleash the power of the gravitational weapon and show the Empire what humanity was truly capable of. The final checks were complete, and the crew, with a mix of resolve and determination, initiated the sequence. The energy weapon, dormant until now, began to hum with power, its systems coming online in a cascade of controlled energy. The Empire was about to learn that they had underestimated their opponent, and that this pathetic ship was anything but. The stage was set for the battle to take a dramatic turn. The Empire, so confident in its superiority, was walking into a trap that would challenge everything they thought they knew about warfare. And the human crew, against all odds, were about to prove that sometimes the most dangerous weapon is the one you never see coming. As the Imperial fleet closed in for the kill, the human ship remained eerily still, its battered hull a testament to the relentless assault it had endured. The Imperial commanders, confident in their imminent victory, prepared for the final strike. But just as they believed they had the upper hand, everything changed in an instant. The human ship, once appearing on the brink of destruction, suddenly came to life in a way that defied all expectations. Without warning, the ship's secret weapon activated. A deep, resonant hum filled the ship as the energy weapon powered up, tapping into the very fabric of space itself. The weapon's gravitational manipulation began to take effect, warping the space around the Imperial ships with a force that was both invisible and unstoppable. The Imperial fleet, perfectly aligned and ready to deliver the final blow, found itself caught in the grip of a power they could not comprehend. The first sign of trouble came as the lead Imperial ship's sensors went haywire. The ship's advanced systems, designed to handle any known threat, were suddenly overwhelmed by data that made no sense. Space itself seemed to twist and bend, and the once orderly formations of the fleet began to collapse. Ships that had been moving in perfect unison were now drifting off course, pulled by unseen forces that defied all attempts at correction. The Imperial commanders, their confidence shaken, watched in disbelief as their ships started to collide. The gravitational fields, manipulated by the human ship's weapon, were creating pockets of intense force that drew the Imperial vessels together like toys in a whirlpool. Advanced technology, which had always given them an edge, was rendered useless. The systems they relied on for navigation, targeting, and communication were in total disarray. Panic began to spread through the Imperial fleet as ships crashed into one another, their shields failing under the stress. Massive explosions lit up the void. Where once there had been an organized assault, now there was only chaos. The pathetic, human ship had revealed itself as a deadly adversary, capable of dismantling the Empire's might with a single, calculated strike. Inside the human ship, the crew worked with precision, executing their plan with the discipline of seasoned warriors. The gravitational weapon, so carefully developed and now unleashed, was performing exactly as intended. The crew targeted key Imperial ships, using the gravitational fields to crush some vessels outright, while others were violently hurled into their allies, causing catastrophic damage. The Imperial fleet, once a symbol of unbeatable power, was now a scene of devastation. Ships that had been the pride of the Empire were reduced to wreckage, their remains scattering in all directions. The weapon's manipulation of gravitational forces was absolute, leaving the Imperial ships with no means of escape or defense. The carefully planned invasion had turned into a disaster of epic proportions. In a desperate attempt to regroup, the Imperial commanders issued orders to fall back and re-establish control. But their efforts were in vain. The gravitational web created by the human weapon trapped them in a deadly maze. Every move they made was countered by another surge of gravitational force, pulling them further into disarray. The more they struggled, the worse it became, as ships collided or were torn apart by the relentless gravitational tides. Panic turned to chaos as the Imperial forces realized they were facing an enemy they could not defeat. The commanders, once so sure of their superiority, were now desperate for any solution, any way to escape the nightmare they had walked into. But there was none. The human ship, once seen as a minor threat, had become the instrument of their destruction. The battle had shifted dramatically, and the Imperial fleet was now on the verge of total annihilation. The human crew, seeing their plan succeed beyond even their own expectations, continued to press the attack, ensuring that no Imperial ship could escape the gravitational web. The few ships that remained intact were either too damaged to fight or trapped in positions from which they could not escape. The Empire's downfall had begun, and it was clear that this pathetic human ship had changed the course of history. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the ultimate price. The battle, which had seemed so one-sided, was now a testament to the power of ingenuity and the determination of a species that refused to be conquered. As the last of the Imperial ships succumbed to the relentless gravitational forces, the human crew watched with a mixture of awe and grim satisfaction. They had accomplished what had seemed impossible. They had not only survived but had obliterated one of the galaxy's most feared fleets. The weapon, still humming with residual power, had proven itself to be the ultimate equalizer, turning the tide in a battle that should have been lost. The panic among the remaining Imperial forces was palpable. They had never faced a defeat like this, and the realization that their fleet had been decimated by a single human ship was a blow to their very core. The Empire, so confident in its dominance, had been brought low by the very species they had dismissed as insignificant. The galaxy would never be the same. The tide of battle had irrevocably turned. What began as a hopeless encounter for the human ship was now a calculated dismantling of the Empire's pride. The captain of the human vessel, a master tactician, saw the opportunity to not just survive but to utterly devastate the Imperial fleet. With the gravitational weapon in their control, the crew began to methodically tear through the Empire's forces, each move precise and devastating. The gravitational fields, once a defensive measure, were now employed as an offensive tool with surgical precision. The crew manipulated the battlefield, bending space to their will. They targeted the Empire's largest ships, those that had once dominated the galaxy with their sheer size and firepower. Under the influence of the gravitational weapon, these colossal vessels were turned into liabilities. Ships were pulled together, their shields failing under the strain as they collided, tearing each other apart in a cascade of explosions. The Empire's numerical superiority, once their greatest strength, had become a weakness, exploited by the human crew at every turn. As the destruction mounted, the Imperial commanders realized the gravity of their situation. Their fleet, the jewel of the Empire, was being systematically dismantled by a single human ship. Panic gave way to desperation as they scrambled for a solution. Orders were barked, and the remaining ships began to focus their firepower on the human vessel, hoping to overwhelm it through sheer force. But the gravitational fields rendered their most powerful weapons useless, warping their trajectories and nullifying their impact. Energy blasts meant to incinerate the human ship were bent away, dissipating harmlessly into the void. Every move the Empire made was countered with devastating effectiveness. The human crew remained calm, their strategy unfolding with the precision of a well-rehearsed play. They had anticipated the Empire's reactions, using their desperation against them. The gravitational weapon was not just a tool of destruction, it was a means of control, dictating the terms of engagement. The Imperial fleet, so accustomed to dictating the terms of battle, found themselves trapped in a situation they couldn't escape from, their every action leading to further losses. With each passing moment, the Imperial fleet's cohesion disintegrated. Ships that had once flown in perfect formation were now scattered, isolated, and vulnerable. The gravitational weapon isolated key targets, pulling them out of formation and leaving them exposed to the human ship's focused attacks. Massive cruisers were twisted and crushed under the strain, their hulks drifting lifelessly as the human ship pressed its advantage. The realization of impending defeat began to set in among the Imperial commanders. What was once unthinkable had now become a stark reality. Their fleet, the embodiment of the Empire's might, was being obliterated. Attempts to regroup and mount a counteroffensive were met with failure. The gravitational weapon's influence was absolute, controlling the battlefield in ways the Empire had never encountered. Communication broke down as ships were pulled out of range, their systems disrupted by the gravitational distortions. The Empire's once unified force was now a collection of isolated, panicked ships, each fighting for survival in a battle they were destined to lose. In the midst of this chaos, the human crew remained focused, driven by a singular purpose. They knew that this battle was more than just a fight for survival. It was a turning point in the war against the Empire. Victory here would send shockwaves throughout the galaxy, shattering the illusion of the Empire's invincibility. The captain, leading with unwavering resolve, ensured that every action taken was calculated to maximize the impact of their victory. There was no room for error, no space for complacency. The Empire had to be defeated completely, leaving no doubt about humanity's strength. The few remaining Imperial ships, those that had not yet been destroyed or disabled, began to turn and flee, hoping to escape the carnage. But the human ship was relentless. The gravitational weapon extended its reach, creating barriers of intense gravitational force that trapped the fleeing ships. Engines strained against the pull, but it was futile. One by one, the fleeing ships were dragged back into the battlefield, where they met the same fate as their comrades. There would be no escape, no survivors to tell the tale of what had happened here. As the last of the Imperial ships were destroyed, the battlefield fell silent. What had been the site of an intense and bloody conflict was now a graveyard of twisted metal and shattered dreams. The human crew, though weary from the battle, felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had done the impossible. They had not only survived an encounter with the Empire's finest fleet but had obliterated it. This victory, born from courage, intelligence, and technological ingenuity, would change the balance of power in the galaxy. The captain surveyed the battlefield, knowing that their work was not yet done. This victory was monumental, but it was also just the beginning. The Empire would not take this defeat lightly. They would return, likely with even greater force. But for now, the crew allowed themselves a moment of reflection. They had faced the Empire and emerged victorious, proving that humanity was far more formidable than anyone had imagined. The galaxy would soon hear of this battle, and the message would be clear: humanity was no longer a species to be trifled with. The balance of power had shifted, and the Empire, once unchallenged, would now have to reckon with the strength and resolve of a species they had once considered insignificant. The battle had ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving the void of space eerily silent. The last of the Imperial ships had been obliterated, their wreckage drifting aimlessly in the aftermath of the conflict. The human ship, the sole survivor of the engagement, floated alone amidst the debris. The crew, though exhausted, moved quickly to assess the state of their vessel. To their surprise, despite the intense battle, the ship remained largely intact, a testament to both the durability of its design and the effectiveness of their strategy. As the crew began to catalogue the damage, the gravity of what they had accomplished began to sink in. They had not just survived an encounter with one of the galaxy's most powerful fleets, they had utterly destroyed it. The Imperial fleet, once the pride of the Empire, was now nothing more than twisted metal and fading energy signatures. The realization of their victory brought a moment of quiet reflection among the crew. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, but they knew this was just the beginning. Far from the battlefield, news of the defeat spread through the Galactic Empire like wildfire. The first reports were met with disbelief. How could a single, outdated human ship have destroyed one of their elite fleets? The Empire's leadership, accustomed to unchallenged dominance, was stunned. They had always considered humanity to be a minor nuisance, not worthy of serious consideration. But now, in the wake of this devastating loss, they were forced to confront the reality that they had severely underestimated the human race. The implications of the defeat were profound. The Empire had prided itself on its invincibility, its fleets serving as the ultimate symbol of its power. But now, that symbol had been shattered by a species they had barely acknowledged. The realization hit hard: humanity was not just another species to be conquered. They were a force to be reckoned with, capable of challenging even the might of the Galactic Empire. The leadership, once confident in their superiority, was now gripped by a mixture of fear and anger, knowing that they had awakened a sleeping giant. Aboard the human ship, the crew's celebration was subdued. They had won a significant victory, but they were acutely aware that this battle was only one step in a much larger conflict. The Empire would not take this defeat lightly. Retaliation was inevitable, and it would likely come with even greater force. But the crew was ready. They had faced the Empire's best and had triumphed. Whatever came next, they would face it with the same resolve and determination that had carried them through this battle. The captain, reflecting on the battle, knew that their success had broader implications than just the destruction of an Imperial fleet. The mission had been a calculated risk from the start. The human ship, deliberately chosen for its unassuming appearance, had been used as bait to test the gravitational weapon against the galaxy's most feared fleet. The gamble had paid off spectacularly, proving that humanity's new technology could level the playing field against even the most advanced civilizations. As the crew continued their work, the captain allowed himself a moment to consider the bigger picture. This victory marked a turning point in humanity's struggle against the Galactic Empire. No longer could the Empire dismiss humanity as a minor threat. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and humanity had proven that they could not only stand up to the Empire but could also deliver a crushing blow when necessary. The implications of this battle would reverberate across the galaxy. Other civilizations, long oppressed by the Empire, would hear of this victory and perhaps find the courage to resist. The Empire, meanwhile, would have to rethink its approach to humanity, knowing that they were no longer dealing with a simple, primitive species but with a formidable opponent capable of challenging their rule. The human crew, though victorious, remained vigilant. They knew that the war was far from over and that this battle, as significant as it was just the beginning. The Empire would come again, and next time, they would be prepared for a much fiercer fight. But the crew was ready for that challenge. They had faced the Empire's might and had emerged victorious. They would face whatever came next with the same courage and resolve. As the human ship prepared to return to friendly space, the captain issued one final order: prepare for the next battle. The crew, now seasoned veterans, knew what that meant. Their fight was far from over, but they had proven themselves, and they would continue to do so until the war was won. In the quiet of the aftermath, as the ship moved away from the battlefield, there was a sense of both accomplishment and anticipation. The victory had been hard-won, and its impact would be felt across the galaxy. But the crew knew that they could not rest on their laurels. The war was still raging, and they had a crucial role to play in its outcome. The story of the pathetic, human ship that obliterated an Imperial fleet would become legend, a tale of underestimation and the power of human ingenuity. The galaxy would remember this battle, not just as a victory for humanity, but as a reminder that even the most powerful can fall when they overlook the potential of those they deem insignificant. And humanity, now firmly in the fight, was prepared to take on whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that they had the strength, the technology, and the will to win.